members of the committee for being here. We are going to start out today by working the Kansas Department of Agriculture budget. Luke, if you would give us a quick overview, then we will get to work. Thank you. Any requests for bill introductions? Seeing none, Luke, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Luke Drury, Legislative Research. The committee has previously heard the Department of Agriculture's budget. I would just note there are a few items that were done to the agency's budget request by the Special Committee on State Budget, so I'll just run through that with the committee here. The Special Committee did delete the addition of 5.7 FTE positions in 2026. Also, the reappropriation in 2026 of State General Fund, along with the $10.2 million in State Water Plan Fund reappropriation in 2026. The agency also submitted 6 enhancement requests, 2 of which were for State General Fund, 1 for the Conservation Division General Fund, Food Safety Program, from the general fund, and these can be found on the budget summaries, page number 2, the policy snapshot. State Water Plan Fund for dam inspections and rehabilitation cost share, aid to conservation districts also with State Water Plan Fund, $950,000 State Water Plan Fund for irrigation technology, and $500,000 Water Plan Fund for water resource cost share. Madam Chair, I could certainly stand for questions if you or the committee have any.
Thank you, Luke. Committee, questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Also today, if there are amendments, I need to give the maker of the amendment the opportunity to close. I have not been doing that, and so I want to correct that error. So, all right, I will open the discussion for the Department of Agriculture budget.
Madam Chair,
Representative White.
I would like to make a motion for the reappropriation of $195,250 for the purchase of the semi-truck, the weight scale. Okay, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Well, the record needs to know what you're talking about. Go ahead and make,
Yeah.
it's part of the record.
I move that we reappropriate $195,250 for the scale truck of SGF fund.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, moved by White, seconded by Carlin, to reappropriate the $195,250 amount to finish the purchase of the weights and measures truck. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Representative White, you may close.
I close.
Okay, all those in favor of reappropriating the funds for the weights and measures truck for the Kansas Department of Agriculture, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Representative White.
Madam Chair, I'm on a roll. I'm going to keep going. I would like to reappropriate all the funds for the State Water Plan Fund, except for the Water Quality Buffer Initiative, and that I want lapsed.
And moved by White, seconded by Roth to, if you look on page 10 and 11 of your budget, the agency request, the agency stated that most of that money was encumbered and is needed to finish paying for programs and projects, but the exception of the Water Quality Buffer Initiative, which was $635,433, I believe that was, that's State Water Plan funds. They would agree to lapse. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Representative White, you may close.
I close.
All those in favor of reappropriating, what is the amount, Luke? The 10.2 million minus the $635,432 for the water buffer initiative, water quality buffer initiative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That amount would be $9,575,198. 9575198.
Any comments about, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Oh, you can close.
I close, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of reappropriating $9,575,198 for projects and programs that KDA needs funds to finish up for the fiscal year, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, let's go down to the next.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair Long.
thank you. In regards to the fiscal year 2027 budget, I move to add $250,000 of state water plan funds for water resource cost share, and this is specifically for the livestock watering projects, if you'd want to comment on that.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Long and seconded by Representative Roth to add $250,000 of state water plan fund for water resources cost share, specifically for the livestock watering projects. And just in review, in 2025, there was $500,000 that was approved, and they had requests for $2,760,000. And so they obviously used up the $500,000, and the State Conservation Commission kicked in some more, and they actually paid out nearly $580,000. So this has been well received by the feed yards out in western Kansas, and the net result of these improving these livestock watering systems is obviously water savings. So in 2026, the initiative approvals, there were actually 10 that, received approval thus far, and the agency has paid out $429,000 of the $500,000 that was allotted. Total requests were nearly $2 million again, and so the agency is very certain that they will expend the $500,000 for 2026. Therefore, adding another $250,000 onto that base amount will allow even more feed yards out in western Kansas to help deliver water efficiently to their stock. So, any other discussion on the livestock watering, $250,000? Vice Chair Long.
Seeing no further discussion, Madam Chair, I close.
Okay, all those in favor of adding $250,000 of, I see the SWP and I always think Southwest Power Pool right away. It's like the State Water Plan Fund for water resources cost share, specifically for livestock watering projects. Say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. So other adjustments to the 27 budget. Representative Rogers.
Madam Chair, thank you. I move to add back the $1.7 million for the aid to conservation districts from State Water Plan Fund.
It's been moved by Representative Rogers, seconded by Representative Roth, to restore or to add $1.7 million for the from the State Water Plan Fund for aid to conservation districts. Any discussion?
It was seconded.
Yes, it's been seconded. Any discussion? And this is basically that 2-to-1 match that we put in last year. We thought it was a base and it was not. Do we need to have a discussion on making that ranking, Carlin?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I had a question, though, but I didn't want to vote without the question. So is this 26, 27? And is this the one we needed to add FTEs? Or, okay,
No.
just checking
This is for fiscal year 2027.
for 27.
But now that I'm talking about this, do we need to add language to put this in the base budget for KD8? Luke?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the motion is made that the committee would like that to happen in the Budget Committee report, I can note that the committee recommends that it be an ongoing appropriation from the State Water Plan Fund for the purpose of that matching state aid.
We don't need to necessarily take action on that. I mean, Representative Rogers?
Madam Chair, I will clarify that in my, I already made the motion, but I think probably a note will be that we want to make that part of permanent appropriation. So, and just for clarification, $1.75 million. Sometime I want to make sure that we understand and we get plenty of zeros in there so that we don't do $170.50.
Representative Roth?
I'm sorry, 1.75. I misspoke earlier. I apologize.
Any further discussion? Ranking Carlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think if this is where we were talking about making it permanent in the budget, I wish that would be a part of our motion, not just a clarifying. We'll make a separate motion to do that if you'd like. But I don't think we want to just count on putting it in the notes. This is too important. It's a detail that we.
Okay,
Can I make a substitute motion?
we have,
Okay.
Representative
Madam
Rogers.
Chair, I make a substitute motion that we add $1.75 million to the State Wildlife, there we go again, State Water Plan Fund for aid to conservation districts on a permanent appropriation.
Seconded by Representative Roth. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, this may
Yes.
be just, I know the Senate's taken this up, so I don't know if the Senate had that language in there, so just be aware that may be, I don't know where they are, but that would be our position then if this would hold. Thank you.
Point taken. Representative White.
I kind of consider this as unencumbered. That word seems to be thrown around. It seems important. So if we can use that language, if possible, for what we're talking about, your motion on making this aid to conservation districts permanent. It is encumbered because there's a 2-to-1 match. The counties put up their share and then the state does not. I don't know if there's a formal contract, but it's getting close. I just want the word encumbered in there.
David, do we need the word encumbered, or can we put it, add to the base budget for continuing years?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, I don't think you'd want to maybe stay away from encumbered in this sense. I mean, I think you can make a note here that this is considered, that the legislature intends this to be, an ongoing appropriation in future fiscal years. But until you really actually pass the budget, say in fiscal 2028, 2029, et cetera, it's really, the agency's not going to be able to encumber it until they have the money actually in hand, so.
Thank you for that clarification. And yes, I do agree that encumbered is a really cool word, but I don't think we need it in here. So,
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
any more discussion on the aid to conservation districts enhancement?
No, I just want to make, yeah, Madam Chair,
Chairman Rogers.
because the county still have to, are you wanting the state to keep that, or the water fund to keep that money if the counties, because, are you thinking that the state will back off of some of their contribution? I guess I'm trying to figure out why we would need that, or if we moved on, because,
If this doesn't go through, the people, there's people out there, this is their salary, and the county commissioner says, yes, they deserve a raise, we'll put up this amount of money if the state does. So what happens if the state doesn't come through? Are the county commissioners ready to take up 100%?
it's hard to speak for.
It's not our problem.
No, well, it really isn't.
Representative Roth.
I'll be allowed to confuse and muddy the water even more. Encumbered funds, from a state agency standpoint, is funds that have already been spent and they lapse into another fiscal year. So that's an encumbered fund. And so in this scenario, we're adding 1.75 million, but they're not encumbering that across fiscal year timelines. And so if that helps at all.
Madam Chair, that helps a lot. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? Representative Rogers, you look like you want to say something.
Did we already blast through 26? Did I miss that part?
Yes, you were doing a bill. We reappropriated money for the truck and for the state water plan fund reappropriations.
Okay. I've got more, but I guess not. We'll just have to do it.
Can we back up and we have not approved the budget, and we basically, I didn't even say anything about, is there any more for 26? I rolled right into 27, so as far as doing things according to the book, 26 is still open, so, but right now we have a motion before us to do the 1.75 million for aid to conservation districts, the 2-to-1 match, and to put it in the base budget going forward. Any more discussion? Seeing none, you want to close?
I close.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, let's go back to 26 and then we'll finish 27. You have something?
Madam Chair, I have two things I'd like to discuss, and one being for 26 and 27, it would be the reappropriation of the 5.7 FTEs. As you recall in the testimony by KDA, these are not new additions, but it was based on that July 1 headcount, for lack of a better term. They had more in July of 25 than July of 24, so still this is below their peak of employees. But just to make sure that we are correct on numbers, these are not additions. These are simply they're full employee. They're not going out and finding more employees and adding to the workforce. But for basically, for lack of a better term, to make sure accounting is done, we need to add back those 5.7 FTEs for 26 and 27. I move that.
Second? Seconded by Representative Roth. Any discussion on the add back of 5.7 FTEs?
I have a question.
Representative Alcala.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So are those vacant positions now that we're adding back in?
No.
They were filled?
They were, Madam Chair, they were filled, but it was a matter of when they kind of did that head count. And then as they went through the process, that's the situation. And so it's really, it's more of an accounting measure, so you don't have phantom, but as far as to add more, there will not be one ads. These are folks already doing jobs.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, you may close.
I close.
All those in favor of adding the 5.7 FTEs back for the KDA budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And did you have something else, Representative
Madam Chair.
Rogers?
I do. I have a handout, if possible, if I could get somebody to hand these out. I think it's a two-pager, but we didn't get stapled together. And I apologize for not being in color. And as being handed out, Madam Chair, I will make my motion. I move that we appropriate $1 million for the Musel Center for Sustainable Wheat Production located in Manhattan, at Kansas State University, as a partnership with K-State, the Kansas Department of Agriculture, as well as the Kansas, the Research Foundation for Kansas Wheat. And that money would be taken from the ending balance of the state water plan fund. The way it looks like to me, there's about 2.7 left. That's a long motion. I apologize. I'll explain later.
And that is for 26?
This would be for 26, a one-time ask.
Okay, it's been moved for a one-time ask of $1 million from the State Water Plan Fund to support the Wheat Innovation Center. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Ranking Carlin. Any discussion? Representative Bloom.
How much is this going overseas, this money? It says it's an international project.
Okay, can I, before we go down those rabbit holes, Madam Chair?
Representative Rogers.
Thank you. All right, going overseas, that's a great buzzword. This is going to be housed in Manhattan. This is not shipping wheat anywhere. What this is being led by Kansas Wheat, Kansas Department of Agriculture, to really refocus again the wheat industry as they're looking at sustainability and how to sustainably grow wheat, how it is part of this ecosystem that we're working on. This would be a coordinated effort that would be located in Manhattan, Kansas, I believe housed either at the Wheat Innovation Center, but they'll be working as well through Kansas Department of Agriculture and others. So as far as this is about a $3 million project. They've already raised $1 million. And so they already have $1 million to get started. There will be $1 million from the state. If we approve this, they will go out and raise another $1 million to cover this. This is similar to what we did last year. It's modeled a little bit off the sorghum improvement, the sorghum center for the CSIP at Kansas State University, where we did a redo of, after that first 10 years, it was renewed for another 10 years. So, but just with the situation, as they have already been aggressively, and they did receive a memorial gift of the family to start this. That's named after the Musels. Mr. Musel was a longtime aide to former Congressman Keith Sebelius. And but what this is, you can read it. It is looking at all those different pieces, and so it's not only public dollars, private dollars, looking at research, looking at other things. So instead of dragging it out over a 10-year plan, with the money that is there, and with looking at water savings and all that, we decided, you know, let's go ahead and do it now instead of trying to go back and try to fund it for 10 years, 100,000. That money is there. It is something that, again, agriculture is such a huge part of the economy, as we talked about earlier this morning on our floor, that this is not only provides strategic oversight of research efforts, the international part, to Representative, this research will go nationally. You know, it's a small world anymore, and we have wheat breeders from all over the world. That come to places like Hayes and work for K-State and other places. And so what this will be kind of like a clearinghouse, the way I understand it, and bring in a director and to work with all these entities. So Kansas will yet again be the undisputed leader and to really work on those sustainable varieties, not only for water savings, but also we have two of the largest gluten plants in North America and all this together. But the reason why through the water fund is because of all those things to better utilize water. So with that, I hope that explains it.
Does that explain it? Okay. And plus, Mr. Musil was born in Marysville, which is in my district. So the Musil names, there's a lot of them up there. So Representative Alcala.
thank you. Can you tell me what this enhancement will do differently than what they're not presently doing at K-State now?
Madam Chair, thank you. I think what this does is this puts a stronger focus from industry driven, much like we have seen some of the things coming out of with the sorghum situation there in Manhattan at K-State and others. This, like sorghum, this will be wheat. And so the things that they're not doing now is probably a more coordinated effort. And what this is, more than simply relying on government research to do research and full funding, this is be a public-private partnership. And so some of these things they'll be able to do that they simply can't do now, either for manpower and to find the right leader for that. I'm sure they will do a worldwide search for the director of this and to do. And so it's kind of a matter of kind of taking that to the next step than kind of what's going on now. I know right now K-State is working on some wheat varieties for protein in some of the arid areas like where I live, and to gain that, and also looking at all those different things. But a lot of this will be based on production and, you know, to utilize water its best resource and to go back and to have those stronger yields, not only to help the economics of Kansas farmers in Kansas counties, but to really be part of, as both the last two administrations have talked about sustainability and regenerative agriculture. I think this is something that is kind of the next step.
My only concern is that we're starting to reinvest in something different where I don't know, and you're an ag guy, so I believe you. But if we're going to do any enhancement, why don't we do any enhancements in the existing process, which would be what they're doing at K-State? I do not know what the difference is. You defined it with me, but the actual hardcore research, I thought they were already doing something like that. And my other concern is that when we start investing money like this, is that we should really be looking at putting money in the preservation of water. Maybe this does that to an extent, I don't know. But we're going to be facing some tough times. We may not be here with drought in western Kansas. And so I feel like maybe we're not creating the wheel, but I think we already have a wheel that's turning that. If we're going to do something, let's put it in something that's already pretty well established. And this may be, Representative, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Thank you, all right?
Representative Roth was next.
Madam Chair, thank you. I have two questions, if it's okay.
Okay.
One, I just want to make sure this is only a one-time ask, and we're not going to come back next year and ask for another $1 million.
Madam Chair. Yes, it is, instead of going into the 27 budget or so on, this is monies that were not allocated. So we're not out taking from any other program. This would have been back into the state general fund or reappropriated, and so in some other iteration. So much like CSIP that we did last year, that we were successful getting out of this committee and into the budget, instead of a 10-year pay in, this is one time. And so this is to get this program started. And now to say in a decade, much like CSIP, they may say, hey, we need this, but the idea is to get, it's a $3 million project, and this is the part of the state making an investment back into wheat. we don't want to get lost on the fact that there are private dollars in there too. This is not simply a government whatever. And then they're also going to raise another $1 million privately. And so again, it's a 2-to-1 private to public. And, you know, there are places for public money to go into things like research. And we could give a long history lesson of you know, wheat research and how many public and private things do that. We do have one just outside of Manhattan, and we've talked about it over the last couple of years. It is owned by a group called Syngenta that used to be an AgriPro, and, you know, and does a lot of that public or that private research breeding there in those successful varieties. And so what this just encompasses all of it. And again, it's modeled after the success, and those of you that are on the Ag Committee hear that every year, the success that the Center for Sorghum Improvement continues to utilize those dollars. And I'm also assuming, Madam Chair, that with this, they can also, this center can go and be able to qualify for other grants and things, maybe through USDA and so on. So this is kind of our part, our being the state, to really ramp up wheat beyond simply just another commodity that we're working on at K-State. K-State Research and Extension do a good job, but this will be working in concert with them, but they're much like CSEP.
Ranking Carlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure at this point if I still remember the relevance of my point, but it is my question was going to be for Representative Rogers. This is part of the International Grain Research Center, Innovation Center that we have there, where we're doing research, sharing it with the world, something that the city of Manhattan invested in the mid-90s when I was on the city commission. So it's been around. This Musil Center is for wheat. We have the sorghum, we have the wheat. So it looks like the different grains may have different type of leadership within this International Grain Research Program.
Representative Rogers.
Chair, yes, I don't want to confuse. This is not going to be part of the International Grains Program per se at K-State. That brings in folks from milling and other things that do short courses there at that facility, which is a key to K-State. In a sense, what this does, the headquarters will be at the Wheat Innovation Center, which is where Kansas Wheat and, you know, those greenhouses are located. And then this will help fund the position of, they'll have a director of wheat research. And that will be held within the College of Agriculture at K-State, which we don't have. We have researchers, wheat researchers in Manhattan as well as Hayes. And, but this kind of, you know, I'm sure they'll bring a renowned breeder or something along that line. I'm not on that committee, but just trying to get this ball rolling.
Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, you said the Director of Research. This is a Director of National Research, International Research. K-State, Kansas being the wheat state, other states are looking at us, and by establishing this, we are leading the world, and they're looking for one director to say, okay, Iowa, or okay, Texas. That's how I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Madam Chair, Representative, I think, yes. K-State has been long known as the champion of wheat research. And some of the best varieties in the high plains and the hard red winter wheat especially comes out of K-State. There's a little bit that comes out of A&M, but we can't give them too much credit. But, you know, really what this does is we're looking at improving farm profitability, sustainable land stewardship. And I think you'll find those are more than buzzwords, as we've seen with CSIP taking off with sorghum. And to where the innovative things that they're able to do and have done through the investment of the state. With that million, it's been at least a 4-to-1, you know, kind of match and return on doing things. I expect this to be the same thing in wheat if we review that in a decade, Madam Chair.
Any other comments? I was going to ask you also, Representative Rogers, is there potential for federal match like we had last year with the sorghum? I mean, it ended up being 4-1 last year. Is the potential there?
There's potential. I think there's potential if, as this gets developed into research projects. I think it's like anything with a new center or something that's being built, you know, and establish what will the strong points be, if that's what it will be. I mean, we already have a lot of research being done there on the grounds of the Wheat Innovation Center. So I'm sure that there'll be those, like those things I've talked about, sustainability, you know, utilizing maybe other farming practices to keep, you know, soil health and moisture preservation.
Okay, and so, like you said, the sorghum program is established, and so we knew last year that we could draw down federal funds, where this is brand new, and as it gets to rolling, there is potential. So, Representative Alcala.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I definitely respect my colleague's opinion on agriculture, and I usually follow his lead. I have a little problem with this one. You know, we do the $1 million and we kind of walk away from it, and they develop and they get, it's a jump start, and it's helping them move forward. But it's going to take them a while to catch up with the research department at the K-State that's already doing this to an extent. So by saying that is, I would like to make a substitute motion, Madam Chair, that we put the $1 million in the existing program at K-State and use that to advance it and to help with more research.
Okay, there's been a substitute motion made to not do the million to the Musil Center, but to the current wheat center that is established at K-State. Is there a second?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
In closing, because we already have an established program, and I feel we need to advance as quickly as possible as we can on this issue. I don't disagree with my colleague, but I think K-State could probably accelerate this a lot more than a new startup program could.
Okay. Did you get that for the motion? Yes, is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Representative Curtis. Discussion. Representative Rogers, then Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate my colleague from Shawnee. I would have to disagree, and maybe I didn't do a good enough job explaining. We're not necessarily recreating the wheel on this situation. What this does, this is a state portion of already adding another $1 million to it. And while there is some research, this new center will be working hand in hand with K-State. There won't be competing with current research. What this does is this adds $3 million punch with my proposal. With yours, it's $1 million kind of going undirected and without any conversation with anybody within the department, the College of Agriculture, that, hey, this is coming. So my conversation's been with the industry. And the industry, and this is, yes, it is something unique and outside the box. And that's probably a place where we do that here. But I'm looking at this because of already, you know, a $3 million project, and a third of it is already funded from private sources. Another third would be from this part. And then they go out and raise another $1 million. They won't wait for the $3 million before things will happen. This situation will go ahead and happen, and working in concert with some of those things that you have, you know, want to see happen. And I think what you will see is a more coordinated effort with some of the other things. I think what this does, and I share some of your concern, and K-State has also done some things with water, and we're doing some things with the Water Task Force on all these different things. But I would respectfully, you know, not be in favor of your motion, and I think we do this. I think this will be a bigger punch and make a bigger impact. Thank you.
Representative Alcala.
You talk about the $3 million punch. So we would take them to the goal of $3 million. They've already raised the $2 million. Is that what you're telling
They've
me?
raised one.
So they still have another one.
They would, they'd raise one, then they would raise another million. And from whatever sources they have, would not come from the government, state government, our portion would be, and then this, and I'm sure what, if not implied, I would hope that the next chairman of the Ag Committee in the House would encourage them to make a yearly presentation like CSIP has done with sorghum in our committee. So there is a bit of an oversight so that we know that that investment is working in the things that they're doing.
And so that adds to my concern a little bit. I understand totally. And really, with all due respects, I respect your agriculture opinion. I really do. But one-time funding, and then they get established, we come back, another time funding. I'd rather put that money somewhere that's already established. It can start accelerating at a more faster pace. I don't disagree with him totally, but I see us starting to branch out with these dollars, and I just think K-State runs one of the best agricultural research programs in this country. I feel that with what little I know about agriculture. Thank you, and thank you, Representative Rogers.
Representative Rogers?
And again, I appreciate your concern, but this is a one-time ask, Representative. They're not looking for the state to pay for operations. Again, going back to the Sorghum Improvement Center, at the time that it was just, it was brought up, the state decided instead of $1 million in one swoop, you can remember 10, 11 years ago where our finances were as a state. So $100,000 with that $1 million investment over 10 years. The thought was, as we looked at the dollar amount that was still in the state water plan, to do it now, instead of having to kind of go back and, okay, please give us that little bit more to get to that point. And so that's where, to me, the power of 3 million has a bigger impact than the power of 1 million. And there's still, this connects all the dots. And that's why. And so they're not coming with nothing and saying, oh, please, state, give us money, then we'll, trust us, we'll get done. The sorghum, and I know I belabor that fact, what sorghum did with the million that over time that the state invested, they had money from the national sorghum checkoff, the state sorghum checkoff, USDA, others, and individuals and industry help power that program.
Representative White?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand this is a administrative position. This is going to be for an endowment and a salary, and this administrator is to coordinate research in the whole country, all wheat research in the world, and this is been needed because there's duplicate research done here and there, and this is something Kansas needs to lead on, and it needs to be in Kansas, or particular Kansas State. And this is, think of it as an endowment. It's going to pay somebody's salary, and this is a research coordinator worldwide. It's something totally new. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Alcala, I think, was next, and then Representative Roth.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleagues' comments. I would add to that on my amendment, Madam Chair, if there would be a provision that would allocate those dollars for the purpose that we're looking at allocating dollars for this program. So I think they may already have somebody there established that does that. I am not sure, and you guys might be, and I believe you, but I just think that, man, I just want to keep accelerating and advancing the program. I think the university is the best bet. It's not that I think you're wrong. That's just my thought pattern.
Representative Roth.
I would just, I'm going to tag on to our representative from Ashland. And I'm going to read right off of this page here. It says by leveraging $1 million private estate gift to establish centralized research leadership at Kansas State University, the center reduces duplication. Just as he indicated, there's duplicate work being done nationwide and more than likely worldwide. It aligns priorities across all these institutions and accelerates the delivery of practical science-based solution to producers. So to me, it's like this investment of a one-time investment of $1 million into this program with the private gift, and then they're going to raise another $1 million. So it's $3 million. It's like taking it to the next level and putting Kansas State University at the center of the universe in regarding to wheat research, and where everyone, more than likely, most researchers will be looking to Kansas for what's going on in the research world for wheat production. And so I respect what you're wanting to do, because I think I understand what you're wanting to do, but I'm more aligned with this one-time ask to centralize, reduce duplication, and then it actually just, it makes Kansas more of a bright shining star than it already is. And that's mine. So thank you, Chairman.
Representative Alcala.
So I've been around politics a long time. I guess this is my 35th year. Came up here in 2012. And so I don't disagree with my colleagues. I just have a different concept of how I think we should use those dollars. But I also am going to withdraw my amendment because I don't want and I can count, I don't want my colleagues voting against the university because it's not political with me. I just thought that was the right thing to do. So I will support the $1 million. It just wasn't my priority of how I wanted it to go.
Thank you, Representative Alcala. Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just thank you for with the withdrawal, and the second does agree with that. But I think kind of the confusion is that, you know, here we are working this ag budget and none of us has heard about this before. And so now we're trying to unpack it. And, you know, it's an unfamiliar area for me particularly. So it, you know, takes a little bit to get my hands around. And then, so I think what would be helpful would be if we had more of a, you know, I don't know, does this involve building a building? Does this involve, I mean, what does it involve? So it would be nice to have those kinds of details, just, you know, for clarity. And then the other thing that I would mention is that, you know, we talk about it being modeled after K-State Center for Sorghum. Well, I know that it's there, but I know very little about it. So that doesn't really give me a very good reference point. So again, if just information about that and how that's working and how long that's been in existence, and if we're modeling after it, you know, does that make sense? So anyway, just trying to help your colleagues that maybe are unfamiliar with this area and just trying to get our arms to make good decisions. So appreciate it though. And I agree with my colleague. I do trust you in these matters, as well as my other colleagues who are in ag, who I serve with in this legislature and on this committee. And so I think sometimes we do have to just have a little bit of blind trust in knowing that there are others who are more knowledgeable than us, and try to make the best decision. So thank you.
Any closing comments?
Well, Madam Chair, thank you, and I apologize for taking so much time. And also, colleagues, this is not meant to be a gotcha at all. This is something that has been developing very late. And at the time, the thought was, well, how do we approach this? Do we approach it the same model that we tried to do the sorghum improvement? And we looked at the dollars and cents. And with the excitement that's already built by starting at $1 million of a $3 million project, Madam Chair, hopefully maybe when we get done with budgets, there may be an opportunity for Kansas Wheat and maybe somebody from Kansas State to come and do a short informational hearing, so we'll all learn about it. But I appreciate my colleagues on the other side that in your trust, and in this committee, we do things outside of the world of agriculture and some things that you're passionate about. I listen to listen to you and try to learn and ask questions. And so, again, this was not something that tried to be slipped in at the end. It's simply a matter of, these are almost hot off the press because it was a process to try to see how this is moving forward. And as folks outside this building, this is something I will not be serving on, so I have no self-interest in this other than doing the right thing for Kansas agriculture. And so, there's a time for them to come, and in a perfect world, you know, without all the different meetings, and this time, since farming isn't going on, leaders of the wheat industry are everywhere else. They're not coming till the first part of March for our commodity reports, but if they come back and then we can have all those type of questions. But physical building, no, the facilities are there. This is simply a matter of coordinating, and like the representative from Clark County said, this will be another star, I believe, and not stealing a word from you, the star in the map for Kansas State as a world leader. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I close.
Okay, all those in favor of allocating $1 million to the wheat, what's it called?
Mutual Center for
Mutual
Sustainable Wheat
Center for
Production.
Sustainable Wheat Production, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. That is a one-time allotment
And we know-
Okay.
You understand where it comes from, right?
from the Water Plan Fund.
The ending balance, right, the current ending balance.
The current,
yes.
whatever the
Thank you.
current ending
Thank
balance. Okay, so moving on. If you all want to look on page 15 of the agency request, we need to keep moving so we can give Commerce adequate time to present their budget today. The agency had a request for one new FTE position that would be the agency lead for grassland preservation and protection. And for those of you that were in Approps yesterday morning and heard the presentation from Secretary Beam, there are 15 million acres of grassland in Kansas. And it's being, some of it is being invaded by woody species, and we're gonna call out the eastern red cedar tree as being the worst. And so the department feels like having a grasslands expert, which they've never had, it's a new position, would be there to help farmers and ranchers across the state with grassland management. And so I am moving to add that FTE, and the funds requested for that FTE is $97,662. It's right there on that page. Originally it was SGF. I would like to take it out of the State Water Plan Fund. Of the ending balance, to fund this position.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ranking Carlin. Discussion.
27.
Yes, yes, these are requests for 27, yes. Any discussion? Ranking Carlin.
Since I didn't get to make a motion like this and only seconded, I think it's important that we know why it's really a big deal. You did tell us, but I have had so many people, ranchers around between here and Topeka, between here and Manhattan, talk about the red cedars, and that there's absent landlords don't have any concern about it, and they just let them go, and in a couple years it's a really big deal, and they're not going to have the money to come back and invest in that either. So we really need to find a way to help them, and I believe this is a way to help them. And I've been asked personally to do that, so I'm delighted to have the opportunity, and that's why I seconded the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments? I may close. I close. All those in favor of adding one FTE as a grassland preservation and protection person for KDA at the amount that was specified, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other things for the KDA? Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So let me first start. I have a proviso that I want to offer for FY '26, so let me start there first. And Dave, I don't know if did you make copy? Oh, yay, thank you. So if it's okay with you, he can pass that out. As you know, we had.
Yeah, would you like to describe your proviso while he's passing it out?
Yes, thank you. So, we had a discussion earlier about how Kansas is facing a severe pet overpopulation, that the crisis is at an unprecedented shelter overcrowding, and we've had a surge in abandoned animals. I've tried to get information to all of you, and I know that the DOA did provide the report that we had from our previous action in allocating some additional dollars for spay and neuter. So that was in, I believe it was in FY '24 or '25. So what I would like to do for FY '26 is to offer the same proviso that we had in '24 and '25, or in whichever year that was. It's that very first one. Let me just read it. During the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, in addition to other purposes for which expenditures may be made by the Department of Agriculture from monies appropriated from the State General Fund in the Animal Facilities Inspection Program Emergency Animal Shelter Account for fiscal year '26. This or other, that doesn't really, I'm not sure that that really describes what we're trying to do. Basically, it's at the very end. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Expenditures shall be made by the above agency from the unencumbered monies in such accounts for fiscal year '26 as of June 1, '26 to offer grants to local communities for the purpose of promoting spay and neuter programs that provide a local match. That is the same thing that we did for '25. And then that's the report that you have in what we were able to accomplish. And so then that would be for '26. And should I just go ahead and move my proviso for '26 and then talk about '27?
Yes.
Okay. So I would offer that proviso and ask for hopefully my second left, so.
Seconded by Representative Roth.
Thank you.
Question, they're allotted $50,000 a year, right, for this shelter stuff. So in our conversations when we heard their budget, we talked about using no more, even though there might be more left, using no more than $25,000 for spay and neuter. That's just a thought I want to throw out there.
And so could we just check to see how we did it previously? Because I think it was like the unspent dollars. And I don't know if there might be somebody from the agency that could help us with that. I actually have the report.
Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I remember right, there was a fund to help feed and shelter rescued animals, and at the discretion of the department, they did that. And I would really like to see that continue. As I want this fund to rescue a starving horse. Hopefully there's no more starving animals, and they will, at their discretion, do this. And it's like, it builds trust for me, at least, when they do that. I don't really think this is the way to do it. I mean, these are numbers out there, and you have to spend this. And I'm coming from the Water Committee, and we're getting a haircut, and water's important. So I trust the Department of Ag to do the right thing when money's available. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Roth.
I want to understand what you said, that we've already got something in place to where if there is unspent monies available, they're able to put that towards spay and neuter. Is that,
Madam Chair, they did it. And we're not forcing them to do it. They see the problem. There may be another problem that comes up and they think it's more important, but this was important to them. And they had just a few discretionary dollars and they did put it in the right place. They did not spend it on spaying, neutering, am I understood?
Representative Curtis.
They did because we added a budget proviso that required them to do that. They did that because we instructed them to do that, not of their own accord. We had a budget proviso that said, right here, $25,000 was appropriated by the 2024 legislature for spay and neuter, which AFI used to create a cost share program.
All right, I understood it as they used funds that was available to rescue starving animals. And that fund of theirs was not used up. So they put money into spay and neutering.
Only because we requested that they do that. We requested that if there was unspent funds in that line item, that those funds then be used to offer spay and neuter grants. So it was only if they did not use that money were the grants available. And we were just fortunate that there was a year that they did not use all that money, so they were able to do grants. And that's what I'm asking for 26. If say by June 1, they have not used all their money in that line item, then they can go ahead and start a grant process. If by chance there happens to be a case where they have to use that money in June before that fiscal year ends, then there's just no grant money available. But it does give like that month for our, partners to like put in their grant application. And they'll have a pretty good idea, I think, by June 1, whether or not there is going to be some remaining funds. So that's what and I'm just dealing with 26 right now. So that's all I'm asking for in this proviso for 26.
Madam Chair, thank you, I stand corrected. Thank you.
Any other comment? Representative Alcala.
Madam Chair, this might be an unusual request, but this was my original motion to allocate these dollars. And so I'm just getting over COVID, so I'm a little foggy, okay? But there is a young man in the audience that I worked with at that time for those dollars, and I know he has the facts straight. If he could come up and talk, that would help straighten all this out. If he doesn't mind, he's grinning. But some of those dollars that got allocated ended up going to K-State. Then the other dollars for the spading and neutering went to, I think, 4 or 5 clinics in western Kansas, which was good. We wanted to, we don't care where it goes as long as it gets taken care of. But he can give us more of a fact base because I really can't remember in detail. And I'm not saying you're wrong. There could be a difference in interpretation.
And I want to take 30 seconds right now to, I want to take 30 seconds right now to say how much I appreciate the way we've exchanged information and the dialogue today. I appreciate that. So Josh, you have about a minute to explain this because we need to get to commerce.
All right, thank you. Josh McGinn, Department of Agriculture. I would just say, yes, there was language that said, at that time it said 25,000 out of the 50,000 that was already appropriated shall be used for this purpose. What the first proviso here accomplishes is that what Representative Curtis is describing, which is only uncommitted funding would go to that purpose. So that would direct the agency to use any uncommitted funding for that purpose. So that would basically recreate what was already in the budget last year.
But this proviso has no limit. It has no $25,000 cap.
Correct, but that is true. And that means that, as Representative Curtis said, if we had a massive case where we needed to seize animals and pay the shelters for taking care of those animals, then there may not be funding in that account for this purpose. But if we have no major seizure cases, and our program does try to work with various partners to avoid that situation, then this funding could be available for this purpose.
Okay, and one more quick verification. This money is in your base budget every year.
Thank you, Chair. In the first proviso, yes, there is 50,000 in our base budget every year for that purpose, in that first proviso.
Okay.
The second
But
proviso
but
is
with or without a proviso, it's part of your budget.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other, Representative Alcala?
No, I have no questions. I just wanted to thank you, Madam Chair, because I think he explained it better than we could have, and I think it's more understandable that way, so I appreciate you allowing that.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Representative White?
So then why do we need a proviso if it's already, the language is already there?
This is the language in the proviso that gives them the authority to spend that money on spay and neuter versus rescuing animals from a bad situation.
Okay. Thank you, I understand.
And this is for 2026. Any other comments? If not, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I close.
All those in favor of this proviso for 2026, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll try to be quick. This is just building on what we are doing here, but I want to build on it because I think this is an important issue. So as we noted, in 2026, if there is a case where they have to use that $50,000, there will be no grant money available. I want to ensure in 2027 that there is grant money available. So I want to leave that 50,000 in there in case they need it, but I don't want to have to wait to see if any of that money is spent in order to get grant money. Therefore, that is why in FY27, I would like to add $100,000 to that line item. And you can see there in my proviso that that would allow for them in 27 to make part of those dollars available to help still support K-State and their efforts. The problem with K-State is they are limited in what they do provide. I think that they could provide more, but they are limited to working on animals that are shelter animals. This would allow for more community spay and neuter. So I would offer that proviso, as you see written here, to add $100,000 to the Animal Facilities Inspection Program in FY27. And then with that further note about the monies to be distributed to K-State and then offer as community spay and neuter grants.
Okay, the proviso for 27 is in front of you. Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Alcala. Discussion. Representative Alcala.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this isn't a number that we just pulled out of our back pocket. It's actually the best guesstimate that we could do without exceeding 200,000, 100 and some thousand. We think if the issue comes up where we need it, it would be enough to be available to address any issue through the university and in the state.
Any other comments? Representative Rogers, then Representative Roth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're tripling the amount of money. Is that correct? We're going from 50 to 150, correct? Permanently? Or just for 27?
It's a proviso, so it's a 1 year. I'm hoping to.
Yes, what's your thought, Madam?
My thought, thank you, Madam Chair. My thought is that we actually can solve the issue if we are making an investment in spay and neuter, that we solve a lot of community issues, that we actually make our communities safer. I can go into a lot of detail, but I think that this helps get us ahead of the problem of overpopulation.
Madam Chair, and I'll be brief. I know, I'm sorry, I apologize to Commerce. I cannot support that. I may be able to add another 50,000, but I don't really triple it yet. I think you come out another 50,000 for 27. If it's all spent again, if we're making that progress, then address it after that. But I'm not necessarily I guess I could make a substitute motion, but if you're agreeing, then I will, Madam Chair, make substitute motion to this proviso to add $50,000 SGF for 27 instead of 100,000.
Okay, there's a substitute motion to add 50,000, which means that that fund will have 100,000 in it, correct? Okay? And then the rest of the proviso, is there a second? Representative Roth had something to say before the substitute amendment. So Representative Roth? Representative Roth,
So,
now he's talking about it.
so we're going to have, they're going to have to change the dollars in the paragraph below, saying provided that expenditures in the amount of 25,000, then they've got 50,000 and 50,000. I think those numbers may have to be changed or tweaked. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you're right.
So what would they read? Do we have a reading of what they would be, please?
Do you know what you want to reduce those to? Disproportionately do that for us, David, or Luke, or both?
Yes. That'd be what, 50, or 25,000 probably, right? Down in the bottom there, it says. And those, the shows 50,000, just make those 25 in the proviso language.
So the the $3 amounts in the proviso will all be 25,000 then?
Are we adding 50? You said 50. Well, the total was 100,000.
But down in the provided part,
Yeah, but totaling 100,000 instead of 150. So one of those needs to be 50, probably.
Madam Chair, I think that down in the proviso part, that 25,000 refers to what goes to K-State to support their efforts. And so that would mean if we added 50, that leaves 50 in the fund, but that gives 25 to K-State and 25 immediately for spay and neuter grants.
okay, if we're adding 50 in 27, they're gonna have 100 total in that account.
Right.
25,000 would automatically go to K-State, leaving 75,000 for rescues, and then you want to actually allocate a specific 25,000 for spay and neuter.
Yes, so my intent was to leave 50 in for the case, we need to use that in that line item for rescue, and then the 25 of the additional 50 would go to K-State. And then what's left would be made available for spay and neuter. So it would be the line item would be 100 with 50 with its original purpose, and then the 50 to be used for the additional K-State and spay and neuter. Does that make sense?
David, do you want to explain that, please? Would you please explain it? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, I think we might have an answer here. I just want to make sure we confirm. So I believe the idea would now to be, we're going to add the additional 50,000 and we'd have 25, a total of up not to exceed 25,000 for the K-State Vet Med, and then 25,000 for the local spay and neuter program grants. That's okay with, I believe we're on the substitute motion by Representative Rogers on that side.
And that would leave still in the account 50,000
Yeah,
for
and the underlying
the original.
50,000 is still for the animal seizures.
Representative Roth.
So the last three lines, that expenditures in the amount not to exceed how much shall be made for agencies to account for 27 to offer grants. So, because if you start with 100,000 and then you take 25,000 off, that leaves 75,000. And then if you're going to go ahead and do 25,000 for the mobile unit, that leaves 50,000. And so if you leave that last line at 25,000, like you say, then that's going to leave 25,000 in the account unaccounted for, because you're limiting it to offer grants by putting a number in there, other than saying remaining balance.
So let me explain it. So the additional 50,000 for 27 will go on top of the 50,000 that KDA already gets. So that's 100,000 total. So we're going to take 25,000 off to go to K-State. We're going to leave 50,000 in the middle for any kind of rescue that they might have to do, and then leave 25,000 to offer grants to local communities for the purpose of promoting spay and neuter. So there's your 100,000 in your account.
Okay, so the middle one stays at 50,000.
Yeah. Yeah, the seizure portion stays at 50. Okay. David, did you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think maybe some of the confusion now, we do have the $3 amounts in the proviso language. I think really we probably should collapse that down. I think this could to collapse that down to just 2, so it'd be, if they provide those mobile services, I mean, I think you really just start out with the provided however, and then that would not exceed 25,000. So that really that first clause would probably go away. So you'd really be, if K-State University Medical Center provides such mobile services to non-shelter and shelter animals, expenditures in amount not to exceed $25,000 may be made from such account. Provide further that expenditures in an amount not to exceed $25,000 shall be made for the communities for the grants. So that's 25 equals 50. Then you have the underlying 50,000 for the animal seizures for 100,000.
Okay, that's nice and clean. Representative Roth?
Yeah, I thank you. I agree with that, kind of. But the last line probably should just say, instead of putting an amount, any remaining balance would be made available to grants for local agencies. Because you've got, well, you say you're going to take away the first line, the expenditure in the amount not to exceed 25,000 will be made to the agency for 27 for Veterinary Medical Center to provide mobile service for spaying and neutering. Right? So you got 25,000 going there of the 100,000 for mobile spaying and neutering. And then provided, however, provide such mobile services to non-shelter and shelter animals. So the same services, again, I think that's redundant. And then the last line is for that. So if you're going to leave the redundancy in there, then you would want that last line to say any remaining balance? Sorry.
Well, it's not really redundant, because the vet school provides mobile services, and we're going to give them $25,000 to do that.
Spay and neuter.
Yes. And then, so of this 50,000, this additional 50,000, we will leave the rest of it, the balance, which is 25,000, for local community grants for spay and neuter. And the base 50,000 that is in there from year to year will still be there for rescue. We don't want to dip into that rescue money to do spay and neuter. We want to have it well-defined, so there's no questions. Vice Chair Long, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to vote for this motion. I completely understand the motion. I understand where all the dollars are going. But I fundamentally disagree with this motion on the pretense that 25,000 of that is going to the K-State mobile services that doesn't even begin to serve the western half, possibly the south half of Kansas. It's very local. I would rather see the whole 50,000 go to the grants to the local communities. Have a total of 100. 50 would go to grants to local communities, 50 would go to seizure and be done. But we've got a motion, we're running out of time. I can vote for this motion, but we need to take a look at this next year.
Representative Alcala.
And I look at this as one-time funding, and I'm really going to muddy the waters here, but I agree with you, Representative Long. And I'd like to make a substitute motion that would add an additional 25,000 to the grant program, because the success of the grant program was pretty limited because there wasn't a lot of money in it last time. I think we hit 4 rural areas out in western Kansas, and it got depleted pretty quickly. I'm not looking to make this be all the time, every time, but I just think that it was successful. And in the grand scheme of things, 25,000 isn't a lot of money, but I think the grant process is probably the best way to go. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm through. I don't want to.
Okay, so we are already on a substitute motion that changed. Representative Rogers made the substitute motion to lower the 100,000 to 50,000. And so we're on a substitute motion. So we have to deal with that first. And the motion before us that has been seconded by Representative Roth is to provide an additional 50,000 on top of the 50,000 base for rescue that's not going to be touched. This 50,000 is going to be split half to K-State and half for local community grants for spaying and neutering. Any more discussion on that substitute motion? See, Representative Curtis.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you would, if I could offer a friendly amendment to your substitute motion, but as we said, it's not to exceed 25,000 to go to K-State. Could we amend it to say that, to not to exceed? The concern I have is that K-State is so limited in what they are able to provide and their service area. I would love for that to be expanded, but right now they will only do spay and neuter on shelter animals, so they don't do spay and neuter on community animals, even though they could, and that is why that caveat is in there, to encourage them to perhaps do more, because they are capable of doing more. I just don't know their capacity and if they can. So if we could just tweak that a little bit to say not to exceed 25,000, and then the department can talk with K-State. If they can utilize the whole 25 to do more, then they can do that. But if not, then those dollars would be spent, would be added to the grants. Does that make sense?
Yes, but as I'm reading it, and according to David, if we take that first sentence out, the second provided, however, that if Kansas State University Veterinary Medical Center provides such mobile services to non-shelter and shelter animals, then expenditures in an amount of not to exceed 25,000. So it's really already there. Okay, we're going to vote on the substitute. Representative Alcala.
I made a substitute to the substitute.
But we can't do that, is what.
Oh, yeah, you can do a substitute to the substitute. You can't go beyond that, but you can. You better check that out. You can do a substitute to the substitute, but that's it. No, I'm not trying to pull one on you. Somebody check it out. You can do a substitute to the substitute. No, Robert's Rules of Order. You can do a substitute to the substitute. And that's it. Even that. You can do a substitute to the substitute. Really, I'm not trying to pull one on you guys.
Okay, and your substitute motion was to add another 25
Grant program.
to the grant program. Was there a second to that? So the motion dies for lack of a second. So we're back on the substitute motion, which everybody knows what it is, right? Any more discussion? Representative Alcala? So Representative Rogers, you may close on your substitute motion.
I close.
All right, all those in favor of adding $50,000 SGF to be split 25, not exceeding 25 to K-State and the balance to spay and neuter, and we're not touching the $50,000 base for rescue, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. It is 5 minutes till 3 o'clock. Okay, wait, we have to move the budget. Okay. Ranking Carlin.
I move that we pass out House Agricultural Natural Resources Ag Budget of 2026 and 2027 as amended.
Okay, I have to back up just 1 minute because there is, there is one more thing that we have to do, and rats and cats, we're taking care of them. Last year, if you'll remember, there was, we allotted $350,000 to KDA for their meat and poultry program inspection, saying that if the feds didn't come through, you know, we'd give them the money for that. So in this year's budget, that language is still in there. So I would like to move a technical cleanup to remove that language. Seconded by Roth. Any discussion? If I close on that technical cleanup amendment, and I believe you guys have the language, I have the language here. All those in favor of the technical cleanup, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, now I will entertain a motion to approve the Department of Agriculture budget.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 2026 and 2027 ag budget as amended.
Seconded by Roth. Any discussion? Representative Carlin, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I close.
All those in favor of approving the Department of Agriculture 2026 and 2027 budget as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. It is now 3 minutes until 3 o'clock. I guess I haven't been in this position before, so I'll find out what I can and can't do. Is it possible to move the Representative Alcala?
I don't have until 3:30. I'd like to make a motion. I don't know if it would take longer than 3 minutes, that we exceed the 3 o'clock limit to do the commerce budget.
Okay.
I don't have a 3 o'clock or 3:30 meeting today either.
It's been moved and seconded to go past our 3 o'clock hour to listen to commerce. Is there any discussion?
We unfortunately limit that to 3:20.
Okay.
Not to go past 2:20.
Do you have it?
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Four of us have 3:30.
Jacob can go till
I
3:30.
love it actually, but.
Yeah.
When does this one need to be out by? Monday?
No, we're going to work it on Monday. And I'm supposed to give it out on Wednesday.
Can you do EFA Monday?
No. No, so now I need to ask Commerce, and please be honest. Can we back this up to Monday so we can give you your due time, or does this need to happen today?
We need their time.
Not on Commerce, no, Wednesday. Okay, I appreciate the Commerce Department's working with us. And again, I want to commend the committee on the conversation about the ag budget. So we're going to hear Commerce on Monday, and we're going to work it on, we're going to have to rearrange the schedule. We'll just cancel the informational hearing and we'll work. Okay, so with that, thank you all very much, and we will see you all on Monday. We are adjourned. Yes.